be getting that little continue on your screen if you're comfortable with that. Thank you so much for allowing us to do that. We have several students who have been sort of interested in this and who weren't able to attend tonight, so we did want to make it available to them. I'm Jennifer Milotell. I direct the program and also serve as a faculty member in the program. So we have Damaris here with us tonight. We have several faculty members with us. Andrew Morgan, Chen Chen, and David Ryan have been kind enough to come tonight. We also have one alumni of the program, Cole Phillips, and we have Lauren Judson, who is a first-year student who just started with us this July. And so that way it'll give you an opportunity not just to hear from those of us who are you know, running the program or being faculty members in it, but if you have specific questions, you can certainly ask the people if you would like. So as I said, I'm Jennifer. I direct the program. My pronouns are she, her, and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here. It's really wonderful to speak with you. I guess I'd like to just start tonight by speaking a little bit to both an MFA program and what it means in general, and to what NEC has in particular to offer as an MFA program, and in particular as a low residency program. So first of all, let me just congratulate you for being writers who have decided that you want to take this next step. An MFA is an incredible gift. It is sort of a real dream come true. It is a very magical time. It's in my view a sort of once in a lifetime opportunity to really commit yourself to writing, to be in a community of writers, and to grow and to flourish in a very particular way. So to me, it's a real celebration to have the opportunity to be able to be in a group of writers and to make your home that community for a few years. And these are relationships that you will form that will last for the rest of your life. I always tell students, you know, in the world, we are strangers. We are kind of a weird group, right? But when we come together, we are fortunate enough to be among our kind. So an MFA program really does offer that. And the other thing I really love about the MFA experience is that it's a studio program, right? So it is about the making of work more than anything else. It is the equivalent of an art degree. So it is about creating, and that is the primary goal that you have while you're in an MFA program. New England College is very fortunate. We have a small program that is really a personalized program, and we have been lucky enough to really keep it that way, you know, no matter what changes in the culture and how many MFA programs sort of pop up and kind of expand. And we're really lucky in that we have a very close-knit community. We are really able to choose groups of people who will sort of fit into a community that is very much about support and very much about growth and cherishing one another, taking care of one another, and making sure that we can give one another a really positive experience that is also about challenging one another as writers. I am always amazed to see that we can offer both a very supportive community that also creates writers that are so incredible. They're incredible when they come, but by the time they leave, they have grown in ways that make, I think, each of us who work in the program really, really proud. So I just feel really lucky to be part of such a personalized program. As you know, NEC's MFA program is a low residency program. So we meet twice a year. In July and in January on campus in normal circumstances. You know, our last residency was remote and our January residency will be remote as well. But fortunately, those have been, that our last residency was really wonderful, and January will be also really terrific. Those 2 residencies that happen each year are incredible groups of days. So we do 6 days in January, 10 days in July. They are intensive days that start off with workshops that are peer review workshops. So your work is workshopped every morning. We have lectures, we have generative workshops, we have readings, there are social hours, we have afternoon coffee and tea. So there are opportunities to spend time together. We have an incredible group of visiting writers every residency. And it's also an opportunity to create the study plan that will shape the work that you will do over the course of the semester. Also during those residencies, you are paired with your mentor for the semester. So you will request mentors at the beginning of our sort of communication about any particular semester. And then usually we're able to always give people one of their first 2 choices for mentors. So you work with that mentor during the residency to create the plan for the work that you will do over the course of the semester. So basically it is, what seems like a really perfect program format for this particular time. But what I'm always amazed by is how that community is created during the residencies and is sustained during the year. People connect on social media. Oftentimes people hold workshops, students hold workshops on their own during the course of the semester. We love getting together. We have a great time. It's sort of, we're not only doing the work, but we're also really having a lot of fun and celebrating at the same time. So it's an incredible opportunity. I also offer students opportunity to take generative workshops or to go to lectures that are kind of cross-genre. So we are very open to students. We have dual genre as a genre, but we're also open to students who want to find out more about potential work that crosses genres or is more experimental. So that's always an option. And I think that's another real advantage to our program. We also have the advantage of having 2 campuses at the current moment. So we have the very beautiful rural Henniker campus, but we've also just merged with the New Hampshire Institute of Art. So the Manchester campus is an urban campus in a really sort of cute little downtown. New Hampshire cities are, they are New Hampshire cities, but it's got a really great little feel to it. So there's that opportunity. A lot of times we make the choice to have our January residencies in Manchester and to overlap some of our events with the MFA in visual art. So that's another opportunity to expand the community. But I guess, that's everything I have to say kind of in a nutshell. It is, again, just a really small, wonderful, personalized program. You will get to know every single mentor and every single student in the program. And everyone is sort of closely connected and really welcoming and in my view, really wonderful. And I think we're all fortunate to be part of it. So maybe what I will do is let Damaris just talk briefly about the application process. Maybe I will then let our faculty and alumni and student just say hi and introduce themselves, and then we can open it up for questions in case you have specific questions you'd like to ask.
Sounds good. Hi, everyone. I'm Damaris. I work in the graduate admissions office here. I know I've emailed with a couple of you, or probably most of you. So the application process for the MFA program is pretty easy. You just go on the NEC website. I can send you the link after this meeting too, but you start your online application there. And then from there, let me just make sure I don't miss anything here. The application requirements are a 1 to 4 page personal essay, your creative writing sample or manuscript, 2 letters of recommendation, and then an official copy of your transcripts or an e-transcript. So those are the requirements. We do have an upcoming application deadline on December 1st, and that is for the Next Start option, which is in January. We are actually reviewing applications for next summer as well. So if you're thinking of maybe starting next year, it's always good to start your application early. So if you have any questions, feel free to let me know or let Jennifer know. My email is right here. So that's pretty much it. There's no application fee. There's no standardized test requirement like the GREs. So, and there are teaching assistantship opportunities that you can apply for. You just have to be accepted into the program first, and then we would send you that application. So if anyone has any immediate questions, feel free to shout them out, but you're also welcome to email me.
Thanks so much, Damaris. And also feel free to throw things in the chat if you have questions, specific questions for Damaris or for anyone else. The chat is also open, so feel free. So I guess I would welcome Andrew, David, and Chen to just say hello. If you just want to give your pronouns, talk about the genre you're in, just give a wave and say hi. Andrew, do you want to start?
No? Yes. Okay. Andrew Morgan, he, him. I guess the quick thing that I would want to say, I teach I teach poetry, so I'm a poetry mentor in the program, but I'd really like to echo the piece that Jennifer said about you will get to know all the other students and all the other faculty in this program. And I teach at the undergraduate institution at New England College, and I've been teaching there for 12 years, and I've been part of the MFA program for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. The most inspiring and exciting moments I've had as a professor have been as part of this program. And some of the proudest moments I've had as a professor have been watching students go through this program. And what Jennifer had to say about students coming in with incredible gifts and leaving with those gifts just flowering all over the place. And some of those moments are the moments that as a teacher, and the whole time I've been teaching, are the moments that I hold closest and are the most inspiring to me as a writer. So that's the sort of community that we have here. And I really cherish this community. And those two periods that we meet each year are periods that I consistently look forward to see all the students, to see all my colleagues and peers. So that's enough for me probably for now, but I really did want to reiterate those two pieces.
Thanks, Andrew. Chen, do you want to say hello?
Hi, I'm Chen. He, him, his. I teach poetry, also really interested in hybrid work, poetry and prose kind of projects. Yeah, I'm relatively new to the program myself. This is my 2nd semester, so I've done 2 residencies. And yeah, just to echo what's been said already, but this is one of my favorite teaching experiences. It's such a tight-knit group of weirdos, and I mean that in the best way. You really will get to talk to everybody. I remember I was hesitant during the winter residency back in January, which feels like 20 years ago, to, you know, I'm pretty introverted. So there are these social hours that happened each night. And I just remember finally going and having the best time. Yeah, so I think even if you are kind of shy, this program really brings out such warmth and engagement from everybody. So it's great to be here.
Thanks, Jen. David, want to say hi?
Sure. Hey, Jennifer. Hey, everyone. David Ryan, he, him. I teach prose. I've written and teach prose, nonfiction, and fiction. And I've also studied in a low residency program. So if you have any questions about that aspect of it, although I think Lauren and Cole would be great resources for that too. But I've taught in a residency and low residency sorts of environments. And I honestly like low residency better. And I love a residential program. I'm not knocking it, but there is an intimacy to this program. You know, it's the closest that you really come to having a Don system, which is more like the British, the Cambridge, where you work one-on-one with someone. I teach at another college that has about as close to that as you can get in the United States, and still nothing compared to the low residency experience. I just feel like I became a writer when I got my MFA, and I really wanted to be a writer, but it was at a certain moment during my MFA where I was like, wow, I'm going to do this. I really am. And I don't know that I could have gotten that without that particular experience. And I think the low residency program at New England College is just, I don't know, man, it just like bumps it up a notch or two from my experience elsewhere. There's an intensity. I used to be in this rock band, and we'd go on tour, and we'd show up in a town for half a day, and you'd fall in love or you'd meet a friend. And the intensity of that moment, there was something so precious about that half a day you had with that person that it amplified the experience, and it constellated the whole experience of that moment, so that these became the moments that I've never forgotten. And, you know, I truly believe that this experience in this college specifically is not unlike that. The difference is I've really lost touch with all those people, and I don't feel like this writing program ever would let you lose touch with the people you've come close to. I think Cole can probably speak to that, especially Lauren's just starting, but I'm hoping you're already feeling that. It's just a wonderful, here's the one other thing I'll just say. You're gonna get so much better as a writer. It's just astonishing how intense and how gentle but pressurized this system is. And again, I teach at a residency program, and it's a great school and fantastic students and everything else. They don't understand, they don't grow as quickly, consistent, and I mean this 100% of the time. And they're as brilliant as the people who enter New England College. There's no difference in terms of the raw matter. But there's something about this one-on-one thing, and there's something about the intensity of this experience that in 2 years, if elsewhere it's like, you know, it's as if you were writing for 10 years, in New England College, I truly believe it's like 15, 20 years. I've seen growth. Cole's a great example. I'm sorry, Cole. But he already came into the program just so with such gift, and yet what I started to see, and he's also somebody who really applies himself. He's a remarkable worker. But if you apply yourself, this environment will just keep giving it to you. And more students from this program start publishing sooner than anywhere else I've seen. And I actually, when I went to a low residency program and for my MFA, I saw the same kind of pressure. I saw the same kind of growth. It certainly happened with me. It's the system. But I gotta say, New England College is way better than the place I went to. You have a much more vital group of professors, of mentors. Just in terms of their own writing, it's not as mainstreamed as some of the programs are. And yet it's not so out there that it's exclusively, you know, experimental or this or that. It's a very open, I'm talking a lot, sorry. I get excited about this program though. And honestly, there's something to what you will learn here that will absolutely be focused on what you want to do well, but you might just have the lid blown off of some options that you'd never thought about before. And I think that speaks to the faculty. It's you know, Chen and Andrew and Paige and Jennifer and everyone else who's here, Allison, Titus, Jesus Christ. You've got an embarrassment of riches. I'll stop there.
Thanks, David.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with you know, a lot of talking. We're happy to have you talking. Yeah, I guess I would just echo that. What we want is for you to push yourself beyond what you thought you were going to do, and to try things that are completely out there for you, and to find your way as you go. And the other thing I'll just mention to kind of echo David a bit is that this program is one of the older low residency programs. It's been around since 2002, so it has that established sense to it, and yet there's so much freshness, I think, in what we have here today for faculty and for students. So Cole, do you just want to say hi, and I don't know, anything you want to say about yourself?
Yeah, I'm Cole Phillips. My pronouns are he and him. And I would say that getting used to David Ryan talking a lot is something that you'll have to, but it's awesome. It's the best, man. He's like magnetic. He's the best guy. And I appreciate his sentiment that I came in with some raw ability, but I echo his sentiment similarly that I grew like 15 years from my 2 years in this program. And it's because of people like David and Chen and Jennifer and Andrew. They're not kidding. I met my best friend in this program. Like, he and I gave a reading last night with another current member of this program. I published in 2 magazines that I'm super proud of while I was in this program. I have a book coming out next month, and I graduated in July. This isn't to say that like publication is everything, because I think art first and craft first. But we would all probably be lying to ourselves if we weren't some parts concentrated on publishing. And I feel very much like I was set up for that and to expand my ability here. I think David Ryan would do anything for me, and I would do anything for him. He's my buddy. And Jennifer and Andrew and Chen, I mean, I'm so lucky to call every one of them friends on one level or another. And you'll find that here, and you will grow here. And I'm gonna put my email in the chat in the event that any of you want to talk about the program. You can call me. We can, we can do whatever. So I'll throw that over there. But I applied to other programs, some with like seemingly bigger names or whatever, and was accepted into those programs. And from day one, Jennifer Milotell reached out to me and like personally talked to me. Nobody else did that. And it was indicative of what was to come. So you're in a good place just by being here right now. Yeah.
Thanks, Cole. And I'll just introduce Lauren to you finally, and then we'll just take some questions. Lauren just started one residency under Lauren's belt, and anything you want to say, Lauren, to this group, we'd really love to hear.
I'm not gonna, I know we want to open it up to questions, but I want to echo Cole's sentiment that I'm going to put my email in the chat, and if anybody wants to ask me what it's like, I'm happy to answer questions. I don't think I have anything really shocking to say other than to echo the sentiments and tell you that as an incoming and an MFA candidate, I was genuinely terrified from a previously bad experience in my master's program. And I had no reason to be scared. I had no reason to be nervous. This community is incredibly welcoming, incredibly kind, understanding, and the growth thing, it is sometimes painful in your first semester. Everybody keeps telling me it's particularly painful, and it gets a little easier to accept that growth. But in just one semester, I can tell you it is absolutely worth everything I've put into it so far.
Thanks, Lauren. So can we take any questions, anything that we haven't answered for you, or any specific things that we can address? Hopefully you've gotten a sense of what we do and how we do it, what we value. So anything we can answer for you? And as I said, also feel free to stick a question in the chat if you have it and you don't want to speak out loud.
Hi, I'm Day. I use they, them pronouns. I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit about the teaching assistantships. Yeah, sure, absolutely. So we are very fortunate to have teaching assistantships and funding in this program. So teaching assistantships happen
both as full assistantships and partial assistantships. So basically what happens is you apply for the program. Once you are accepted into the program, you put in an additional application for teaching assistantships. That decision is made a little bit farther down the line. So currently for us right now, those decisions are in the works. The full assistantship provides full funding with residency fee. So it is a full funding opportunity. Partial teaching assistantships are, as said, partial, but they provide a substantial amount of funding. It's a per class opportunity, and you're funded per class. And generally they are 1 to 3 classes that you would teach per year. And then there are also some scholarships that are, you know, fairly modest scholarships, but they do exist, and they are also opportunities for funding. I will say that the teaching assistantships can be somewhat competitive, and we do look at a variety of different things. So we look at former teaching experience, we look at graduate degree or no graduate degree, we look at the quality of the work. So it is sort of a big package situation, but we do work really hard to give as many people as possible that opportunity. The classes can be taught online or they can be taught in person. And that gives us the wonderful opportunity to allow people from across the country. Obviously, we have students from across the country, so it does allow for the opportunity for classes to be taught by anyone who's in the program, and it does allow people to sort of choose what they would prefer to do. And obviously, it's a wonderful opportunity, not just because of the funding, but also because it gives people oftentimes their first teaching experience at the college level, and prepares them to go out and apply for jobs, apply for adjunct positions, apply for full positions. So it is really, I cannot speak enough about how fortunate we are to have those opportunities that we can then pass along to our students. Does that answer your question, Day?
Yes, it does. I was also wondering, for those of us who have already put in an application, do you have a general idea of when that we might get an answer?
Yeah, we are hoping to have those answers within the next several weeks. So we are definitely at the point where those announcements should be made soon. So our application deadline is the 1st of December. So soon after that, I would say.
Great, thank you, Jennifer.
You're welcome. Thanks for asking.
For what it's worth, too, Jennifer, I was a teaching assistant the entire time I was in the program. So again, I mean, my email's over there. If you want to talk about that too, I can shed some light.
Well, thank you, Cole.
Any other questions I can answer?
Hi, Amanda Rabideau here.
Hi,
She,
Amanda.
her. Hi. I know I had emailed you about with COVID, everything's kind of switched to the online format.
Mhm.
I just wanted to hear a little bit more about what the online residency is like compared to an in-person experience.
Yeah, that is such a great question. Thank you so much for asking it. I will tell you that when I realized that we were going to be doing remote residencies, my first thought was, how are we going to reproduce the experience that we have together in person in a remote environment? Are we going to be able to do that? Because as you've heard, we are a community that values our time together. We value our conversations. We value our workshop experience. We value our social hours. We spend time every evening just hanging out casually and talking. And so I was not sure that we were going to be able to reproduce that. And what I did say was, I know that we have a community that maybe will be able to pull it off. So what we did was we reproduced the entire schedule that we would normally have, and we simply put it into the Zoom environment. And what we did was we created kind of classroom spaces, and we have our own pub on campus. So we kind of reproduce the pub, and we just created different classroom spaces that people would go into as though they were going to go to their regular classes. We gave opportunities for meals so that people could eat meals together if they chose to do that socially. And there were several people who were in like every single meal together, hanging out and just talking while they ate. And so basically we just reproduced our day. And for some reason, it felt very much like what we would normally experience. I mean, we had drinks together in the evening after readings, and having the separate spaces really helped. So we would have a reading with a visiting writer in a particular space. We had Ocean Vaughn come, and he was absolutely fantastic. That's the reading I kind of think about off the top of my head. We had Rosebud Ben-Oni come. She was fantastic. And so we would have those readings, and then after the reading, people who chose to would move into the kind of pub space, and those visiting writers would be welcome to come join us there, and usually did. And so what we would do, what I tried to have happen in the social space was to reproduce the small groups that naturally happen when you're in a social environment. So we used breakout rooms when people would sort of want to connect about something, or there was something in workshop that they had talked about, or they hadn't had a conversation with someone who they really wanted to connect with. So I would just tell people we would have the main room, and then people would request in the chat to go into a breakout room with a couple of other people. And that way people were able to either be in kind of the bigger group to talk to each other and hang out. And I don't know if you've done a lot of socializing on Zoom, but after a while it sort of feels like you're in the same room, right? And so it created the opportunity. And I know there were several nights where I actually just left the pub, and there were still people, I didn't know I could do this because I was the host, but people were still pocketed away in breakout rooms until like 2 o'clock in the morning, you know? So, so it really did actually work. And people said to me at the end of the residency, I didn't think that was going to be possible, but you made it happen. And I think Lauren said something like, that was actually the best week of my life. And I was like, really? But we were all just sitting in front of a screen for the whole time. But thanks to these incredible faculty members and our incredible students, we just really, you know, we didn't have our beautiful campus in real time, in real life, but we had each other, and we had our conversations, and we had our talking about work, and we have a Blackboard space where we post everything that we need. So all of the things that would normally be handed out in packets or posted, student work was posted there. All of the stuff that usually goes in your welcome folder was there. Graduation program for the graduation was there. So so it did actually work. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
Hi, I'm gonna ask one. I'm Christian. Her and she are my pronouns. It is nice to finally get to see everybody's faces. I've been talking to Damaris and Jennifer, of course, through email. I guess one of my questions is just the idea of the MFA and the purpose of it. I did not know anything about it until I went through my master's program at U of L, and a professor basically told me that, you know, maybe the MFA is the next step you want to take. And at first I was hesitant because I wasn't sure if I need, you know how you tell yourself, well, I don't know if I need to go. Do I need to go? But I mean, I've learned so much just from the professors that I'm studying with now. But what is your, or any of the faculty members, why is the MFA worth, you know, worth your time, worth your study? I heard all of you talk about how much strength writers get from the program, and you know, the relationships and the intimacy and just the intensity. But what is your why do you think it's so important to get? Why should writers go that extra mile? If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I will talk about this for just a second, and I'll let anybody else chime in who'd like to. Christian, thanks for the
Okay.
question.
Thank
I
you.
think everything we have said about community and intensity and intimacy is all really great, right? But this is a degree that I think has a couple of really great things about it. I think, as I said earlier, it gives you writing time in a way that you may not ever get in the world, right? I mean, we are all people who love writing, who want to write, who want to become better writers, and the world is always working against us. The world does not necessarily value what we do. And so we are always struggling to make that space. And an MFA legitimizes the creation of that space, right? It says you are doing this in this environment for a degree, for credit. So here is the chance to develop your art and to do it and to have that time to do it. The other thing that an MFA provides for you is the feedback and influence that you can't necessarily get on your own, right? So you are being exposed to not only your mentors and these incredible professional writers who you will work with, but also with an entire community of people who are also growing writers, who all have different styles, who all have different influences, who all are working toward different things. And suddenly in this intensive environment, the amount of influence that you get will transform your work in so many different ways, because it's a really rich and fertile environment. And then, of course, there's the practical aspect, right? Fortunately, the MFA is still considered a terminal degree. It does qualify you to teach at the college level. It is something that looks good on a resume if you're going to be an editor, if you're going to be working in publishing, if you're going to be a freelance writer. You know, there's so many different aspects or, you know, sort of worldly advantages to having it. I mean, it is first and foremost an artistic degree, but it also does have the advantage of being considered a terminal degree. And it does open doors in that way as well. So if you're someone who loves writing and wants to grow as a writer, you know, I would think that's your first priority. But there is that other piece to it that is also really to your advantage. Does anyone else want to say anything about that?
Yeah, I can chime in for a moment. I'll just add, I just think the opportunity to have your work read with such seriousness. I mean, I just remember from my own graduate school experience how important that was to me, like that level of validation, like not for someone just to say, oh, you seem like a good writer, or, you know, this is great that you're so passionate about this, but to be so in depth with every single piece of writing that you turn in. So the mentorship process, I think that kind of close one-on-one conversation over the course of a semester is just incredible. And along with that, one of my favorite things to do is give reading recommendations. So it's really exciting to me to be able to see sort of what a student's interests are and cater reading suggestions based on, oh, you want to look more into the intersection of mythology and poetry, or you want to understand better how to use pop culture in your writing. So coming up with those books and then seeing how the student is approaching those texts in their critical writing alongside the creative writing is just so fantastic to see that. So the kind of conversation that can happen in the packet commentary, and I also like to follow up with Zoom conferences. So getting to have that time together for any follow-up on the written comments, but just to like bounce ideas as well. Because as a writer, I can very easily get stuck in my own head, and I could just live there if left to my own devices. I would love that, but I should absolutely not be left to my own devices when it comes to that. And so I think the kind of structure that this program offers, if you're that kind of writer, just the conversation is so important for seeing where else you might take your writing, and to allow yourself to be surprised by what you discover. I think that's just magical when that happens.
I could maybe bounce off of both Chen and Jennifer for a second. When I went into the program I went into, I honestly didn't know. I wanted to be a better writer. I wasn't interested in teaching. And I was an unusually earnest and naive person. And I probably shouldn't have been, but I was when it came to writing. I just wanted to be the best writer I could be. And I figured it would make sense to be working with people who knew what they were talking about, because I didn't have anyone really to bounce anything off of. So that was one thing, but the reading list, like Chen's talking about the reading list, what'll happen in the program is you meet with your mentor and you go, well, I would like to do these 20 books. And the mentor goes, well, that's great, but what if you thought about maybe this and this and this? And it's that guidance, when I went into the program at least, that just completely changed my life. I learned my mentor's favorite writers, where I might have just chosen my own books to read for that period of time. And that shift was everything. And I simply would not have had that otherwise. There was a time when, you'd have some crank who'd be like, you don't need an MFA, you just need the school of hard knocks. There's no one saying that anymore. Those cranks are all gone, hopefully, but the truth is, and it was true even then, you can get so much out of this experience, and it's only the very naive are saying that kind of thing these days. It's really considered sort of a thing that you kind of need to have, in a sense. So there's that. And then one last thing is that the mentors that I had helped me in ways that surprised me. And I'm not suggesting that that's just part of the deal, but I remember with one, she kept helping me. I got my first story published in Bomb because of her. And that was just this really big deal. And I kept thanking her. And at one point she just stopped and she said, listen, this is what you do. And I'll never forget that. And I feel that that's the mantle gets passed on then from one mentor to a student, so that if they become a mentor, they're thinking about a sort of civic duty to really help nurture these students. If you're one of the students who's really working hard, you don't have to be the most gifted. But if you're the one who's working hard, at least if you're my student, I'm probably going to try to help you any way I can. And I think that's another thing that an MFA is going to simply do that you're not going to get without it. And I hope those are all not cynical ways of looking at it, because I don't think of this as a cynical pursuit at all. You'll find those people who want to just get it because they want to start teaching or whatever, and that's fine too. It can help with that. But wow, it's got a lot to offer otherwise.
I'll just say something quickly, and then because if there's other questions, I want to get to them. But what Chen said about being left to your own devices, I think is really a heart of it for me. And what David said about like the energy and drive that you put into it. An MFA is just like any sort of workshop. There's sort of an arbitrary structure. It doesn't exist in the real world. And there's this force that comes between it. You don't want to be left to your own devices, right? You need the circle outside of that pressing in on your own devices and making, the best of that squirt out and push you forward. And sometimes you just need your own devices steered toward a different direction. And there's no more effective way I've ever seen of foisting that development upon someone than an MFA program and how it's structured. And I think this MFA program particularly is built in a way that best foists. So leave it at that.
Thanks. And Christian, we'll have to talk more about what your particular professor was sort of feeling about that. So we'll have to follow up about that at some point. Any other questions? Yeah, Sarah, is that a hand?
Yes. Hi, I'm Sarah. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a senior English literature major at Wilkes University. And, you know, in at an undergraduate level, there's a big pressure to like get right, you know, out of college into the job market. And some of my professors have been putting the pressure on, you know, me or anyone else kind of pursuing any kind of graduate study to like take gap years and try to build up credentials as far as publishing and stuff like that. But I was wondering, how do you guys feel about the emphasis like on publishing, like, you know, like in the major versus the actual craft of writing? Because that's kind of where my heart's at. But, you know, I know people got to eat. So, you know, my professors are, you know, kind of pushing that, you know, like that, the latter over, you know, the craft itself. So I was just wondering how like that balances like within the program.
Yeah, that's a good question as well, Sarah. If you were to ask me this question, I would say, I guess, I would maybe qualify it as like a 75-25 split, with 75 being craft and writing and 25 being sort of the professional pieces. I think, you know, being in an MFA program is, in my view, personally, about being a better writer, becoming a better writer, challenging yourself, growing, you know, pushing and doing things you never thought that you would do, and being influenced, all the things we've sort of talked about previously. We do have publishing seminars. We have agents visit, we have editors and people who have founded journals. They come and visit, and we have faculty members who serve as editors, and we talk also one-on-one with students about what publishing looks like and how to do that and what we might recommend for them. And also, of course, we provide the sort of support and network of, you know, everything that we have, we sort of offer to all of you as much as we can to pass that along. And I think that's important. And I think leaving an MFA program with some sense of that world is important. But I don't think for me, it's the primary purpose of being there. I think if you can publish, but can't write, you're doing it the wrong way around, right? And I think sort of the purity of the work is something that we always probably have to value to some extent. I don't know, do other people want to talk to that? Anybody have a...
Jennifer, I just want to say that, Sarah, I think the wonderful thing about the program is that you'll kind of get out of it what you want. I think Jennifer's right on. I think that there's definitely a mentality of art first, and I think that that's super important, because if it was the other way around, this would be like seedy, but it's not. And but simultaneously, like, I am a person that cared a lot about publishing coming into this, and I went to David Ryan, and he was my first mentor and my last mentor. And he was like, hell yeah, I'll help you with that in any way that I can. I didn't have to do that. So if publication is not like at your forefront, it's not going to get forced down your throat. This is about becoming a better writer first and foremost. But those opportunities are there for you if you want to pursue them.
I would also just maybe say that ideally, by becoming a better writer, you are taking the single largest step to becoming a published writer, right? In the ideal world.
If I could chime in for just a second, Sarah, I actually had a question about that with my mentor, who's not here tonight, Paige. And I said, I don't want to think about that yet. I want to focus on craft and I want to focus on becoming the best I can be as a road to that. Yeah, but I just, my brain feels full and I didn't want to push it beyond the focus that I have. And she said, cool. And that was it. Like, it was fine. Like, it was just fine. And she said, if you do want that in the future, here's who you can talk to who would be most helpful for that. And David Ryan was someone she mentioned. And over the summer, David did a series of like mini talks, I think you called them. And he's prose and I'm poetry, but I was allowed in, they didn't like check my ID at the door or anything, but and it was incredible, the prompts that were given and the talks that were discussed. And when Paige said, David would be a good person to talk to about like that beast, I already knew that as an answer because he had already discussed some of it. So the answers are there and the people are there, and they'll happily, Paige absolutely threw David under the bus and said, no, go to him. But, it's the faculty is as supportive as the student community is. And it really was, okay, then we won't think about that. Like, it was really fine. And so it's very self-driven. And that's what I was looking for. And it's definitely held true since I've been actually here,
I might just jump in and add that it's true. If you want to figure out the best places to send a particular piece to, there's not a single faculty member here who can't guide you like in a really excellent way that way. But if you, like Lauren is saying, if you want to just focus on getting better as a writer, there's also not a single faculty member here who can't really be great at helping you do that. It's totally up to you. There are programs where there's a sort of emphasis on the commerce, and there are people who go to those programs for that reason. But I don't know what the hell kind of a program is that if that's the goal. To me, that doesn't make any sense. And I can talk about publishing a little bit, So one other observation is, as you graduate from the program and you get out into the world, you'll start seeing people who only want to get published. And they're usually the worst writers you've ever met. But they've figured out this entire other side to things where they think it is, if it's like the lottery or it's like a con game, apparently. And those people might even actually end up getting a book out, maybe a one-book deal, because they've just really worked that angle of it, but you'll never hear from them again after that. And I think if you look at the bios of the writers in this program who are teaching, it's about depth and longevity. It's the long run over the short sprint. So anyway.
Thanks, David.
Yeah.
So I think we have time for maybe one more question. I don't want to keep you guys. Shares that and Patrick. Okay, let's do two quick.
Hi, I'm Patrick. He, him. Real quick, you guys mentioned kind of like difference between low residency and the full residency. Could you kind of do like a high level what like a typical semester would be for a low residency versus like a full residency?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So for us at NEC or I think any typical low residency program, we have the residency period where we basically live together for 6 to 10 days, and every single second is spent being together, working together, doing a lot of the sort of credit bearing intensive classwork along with the other things that we do that are kind of fun. And then as I said, in that time, we're creating study plans. And then over the course of the semester, there are 5 packets that you are putting together with deadlines. So you're putting together creative work and critical work and reading responses during that time. The deadlines are about once a month over the course of the semester. You submit those to your mentor and they provide an extensive and in-depth written feedback within 10 days for you. And then oftentimes you will meet with them on Zoom or have a phone call with them and talk through things, answer any questions you have. And so you get that feedback. And then one of those packets is a sort of revision packet where you are revising work that you have done over the course of the semester. And then your final semester will be the creation of your thesis project, which will be typical for any MFA program, the creation of the thesis. In like a residence program, you would have more typical classes that would meet once or twice a week. That would be, you would probably take a workshop in your genre. I think the difference is we pack all of our in-person workshops into like the 10-day period. And so in a residence MFA program, you would have those spaced out once a week, right? And then you would take other classes. You could take literature classes that would be the equivalent of our critical work requirements. You could, I guess, take a publishing class. So there's sort of more typical once a week meetings as opposed to we do our sort of in-person work at the residency, and then the rest is one-on-one work with your mentor in the low residency model. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, totally. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, great. And last question.
Hello, I'm Cher.
Hi,
She, her. Cheers. So I just wanted to, regarding what Christian said, I started out, I was here at the university thinking that it was time for me to work on my terminal degree, which would be a PhD. And through working with the university, looking at assistantships, just really going deep, I realized by one incredible individual that said, an MFA, share an MFA. So to create work and work the craft. So just throwing that out, you know, creating work, working the craft, mastering the craft, loving writing. So just throwing that aspect out. So I have a visual art degree, BFA, with a concentration in 19th century photographic processes. And then with my grad degree, I taught at university for 7 years, English, art, and funeral service education. So that's part of the question. I believe it was Chen that mentioned the hybrid novel. So I am wondering, and I'm asking this because others may be in this realm as well, if that integration of the visual art and the literary work that I do, if that is an aspect of interdisciplinary work with the university, so with the program.
Yeah, I mean, I think as we have said, one of our goals is to sort of personalize a degree and shape a degree into, you know, what we can make it for you. We are fortunate to have a graduate, you know, an MFA in visual art as well. So what I sometimes tell applicants is that if there is interest in that crossover, we can definitely work to see whether that would be an option and how that might work. So it's definitely something we're open to.
And this is sort of a side thing, but I am teaching right now a film, a cinema theory and prose theory class, where I was even thinking about this for an upcoming low residency one-on-one. If certain students wanted to study film as well as prose, I can teach that. So it's a different kind of visual art, I suppose, but there is that angle too.
Thank you. That's lovely. I've done a little bit of screenwriting, so that's lovely. Cheers to that. Thank you. And
Yeah,
thank you
I
both.
think as we've said, we are open. We understand that work happens in very fluid ways, and we are very much a program that values that and that wants that experimentation to happen and that wants to facilitate it. I mean, if you look at our faculty, we are all to some degree fairly experimental writers in some way. So, so I hope that that helps. Great. So I do not want to keep you any longer. I'm really so grateful that all of you have come tonight, and it was so wonderful to talk with every single one of you. If you have further questions, please feel free to reach out to me or to Damaris, or obviously to Cole or Lauren, or I think any one of our faculty members would also be really happy to hear from you. And again, just thank you for being here, and you know, have a wonderful night, and hopefully we'll see you soon.